can't wait to see the snow.
Good afternoon. This is Sunday, November 9th. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. This is your weather enthusiast, Simcha Lefton. I just wanted to share with you something which comes directly from the National Weather Service. This is for Chicago, the Chicago National Weather Service. I'm going to share with you this paragraph, and then we're going to go back right afterwards. This is the most exciting paragraph that I've seen so far, but then we're going to go back. It says, by the time the lake effect ends on Monday, I'm reading straight from the National Weather Service, total snow amounts will vary considerably across short distances. Where the snow bands are most intense, total snow accumulations of 12 to 18 inches are expected, with a ceiling of 2 to 4 feet of snow bands where they end up stationary. 12 to 18 inches, but 2 to 4 feet may accumulate in areas where the snow bands are stationary. This threat appears to be most pronounced over Cook County, but may extend to Lake County, Illinois, and Lake County, Indiana as well. Meaning that this is the highest potential is here in the Chicago area. Outside of Cook County, the highest snow totals are expected east of I-355 in the Chicago area, east of I-57 south of the Chicago area, and north of the Kankakee River Valley in northwestern Indiana. With all of this said, and in deference for the potential for locally life-threatening travel conditions, I opted to go ahead and upgrade the winter storm watch to a winter storm warning. Winter weather advisories have been issued in counties bordering the winter storm warnings. Finally, did issue a winter storm watch for Lake County, Illinois, to cover the scenario where the trailing lake effect snow band starts further north than currently expected. The start-end times of the products do have buffers in case the lake effect snow arrives early and stays late. Now, let's just go to the beginning of this forecast discussion. This is something, by the way, that's extremely rare to ever happen in Chicago, as we pointed out in the previous episode. This is a Buffalo, New York. This is a Buffalo, New York event. And the National Weather Service, and especially in November, but even in January. And we actually have a polar vortex. This is the real thing. The only reason why we're not hearing about temperatures dropping to 20 or 30 below is because it's not January. But if you go, as I pointed this out in the previous episode, and we're going to read it straight from the National Weather Service right now, if you go to to windy.com and you look at the 500 MB weather temperatures, the 500 MB, 18,000 feet above the surface, you'll see that in the Chicago area, it's 40 to 41 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, which is also 40 degrees below 0 Celsius. Now, in case that doesn't produce any type of feeling to anyone, because you don't really know what that means, all you have to do is check every single city on the planet. Every single city on the planet, and you'll see that it's the coldest in Chicago. Temperatures 18,000 feet above the surface is where they measure the energy in storms. When there's cold pockets of air 18,000 feet above the surface, that energizes storms. It's the coldest in Chicago. And tonight it's going to be even colder here than Antarctica. I checked every single city on the planet, and the highest you have many areas in the Arctic are 25 below 0, 30, but not 40 below 0. And here you could read it straight from the National Weather Service website. It goes, this was updated 11:07 Central Standard Time, Sunday, November 9th, 2025. This is word for word. Not planning any major changes with the morning update this morning, as I would like to run through the incoming 12 Zulu guidance a bit more. Currently, some lingering light snow. Okay, let's go to okay, we're gonna go to the three first. Okay, we go down here. Dangerous lake effect snow expected tonight into Monday. Water vapor imagery depicts the leading edge of an early season low of the polar vortex diving southward out of western Ontario and into the upper Mississippi River Valley. Of particular interest as an embedded shortwave anchored by unusually cold 500 MB temperatures of 40 degrees below 0 Celsius, which, by the way, is exactly the same as 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. They come together at that temperature, which is moving into far northern Minnesota at press time. Ensemble and deterministic model guidance has converged in the path of the embedded shortwave, dividing almost due southward from central Wisconsin and into central Illinois this evening. It's just going to drop south directly, much in line with what the EPS has advertised all along. As a direct consequence of the path of the short wave moving along and just west of the Lake Michigan shoreline and the unusually cold low-level air mass spilling into the Great Lakes, a meso-low originating off Lake Superior, currently traversing the eastern upper peninsula of Michigan, will intensify while dropping into northern Lake Michigan later this morning. Once it reaches the Manistee, Ludington areas this afternoon, it will further intensify and cause the band of lake effect snow from earlier this morning, positioned near the western Michigan shore this afternoon, to pivot back southwestward, which we saw that on the radar yesterday in the computer model imagery, how the snow moves from west to east, and then it starts to go backwards. That's happening this afternoon, reorienting it in shape to almost like a southwest moving squall line, increasing northeasterly flow across lower Michigan, will then cause the northwest to southeast band to accelerate and crash into northeastern Illinois and northwestern Indiana tonight, reaching the shoreline sometime in the 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. time frame. That's tonight. That's about 10 hours from now. Note that this leading band of snow will be spatially wide and penetrate far inland, spreading southwestward, possibly as far west as I-39 and as far south as central Illinois during the pre-dawn hours of Monday. And that's why if you look on the computer models, you'll see an unusually large area inland going well past the lake down into Mamish, central Illinois, exactly what it says. That's the initial band. After the leading band of lake effect snow, a trailing north to south oriented band of intense lake effect snow is expected to move into northeastern Illinois, and it should be established by daybreak Monday. Perhaps the only lingering item of forecast uncertainty is exactly where the trailing band of lake effect snow will begin. That's where all the doubts come in. The initial band is going to cover basically everywhere. So the initial band might only be a few hours long. We're going to see, though, it's going to accumulate large amounts in just that couple hours. The question is the second band. The second one is where the uncertainty comes in. It's the trailing band of lake effect snow, with guidance depicting scenarios of the band starting as far north as Waukegan to as far south as Calumet Harbor. With that said, there is very strong consistency in the high-resolution rapid refresh, the RAP and the EPS data that the band will impact Cook County. With time, the band of lake effect snow should shift southeastward in response to gradually developing northwesterly steering flow from Wisconsin, moving down the lakeshore into northwestern Indiana by mid-morning Monday. The band should then pivot eastward toward Michigan City by Monday evening. The main time windows for the intense lake effect snow band are from daybreak to 12 p.m. in Illinois, and then 10 a.m. through 6 p.m. in northwestern Indiana. Note that the degree of lake instability, more on this soon, will allow the band to maintain integrity surprisingly far inland, with accumulating lake effect snow reaching as far south as Iroquois, Newton, and Jasper counties behind the initial burst. We're going to, just to mention what we said before, is that the instability on the lake is something totally phenomenal. And let me just explain that, and then we're going to read about it in a second. The way it works is that when you need a 23-degree temperature difference between the surface temperature and the temperature 5,000 feet above the surface in order for there to be lake effect. If it's more than 23 degrees, the larger the amount, the more intense the lake effect snow is going to be. So if you go back, the most intense, if you go back to the Buffalo, New York, November 2022, I have a podcast on that where we speak about several more feet of snow falling by Monday morning. That was the Buffalo, New York event in November 2022. In that scenario, the lake water temperature was 52 degrees, and the temperature 5,000 feet above the surface was 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So 52 minus 16 gives you a 36-degree temperature difference. That's why the Buffalo, New York snow was so heavy. Let's play this out for tonight. You'll notice something unbelievable. It's even more intense. The Chicago shore temperature this morning on the lake was 50 degrees. The Chicago crib was 54 degrees last night, and somehow it rose overnight by a degree. I have no idea how. It rose to 55 degrees by this morning. So we now have lake water temperatures are between 50 and 55 degrees. Very similar to what it was on Lake Erie, Buffalo, New York, at 52 degrees back in November. The forecast temperatures 5,000 feet above the surface are expected to be 13 degrees Fahrenheit later tonight. So in Buffalo, it was 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Forecast is to start off around midnight at 14 degrees, then 13 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have 55 minus 13, 42. You have 37 to 42 degree difference. The Buffalo, New York was a 36 degree difference. So at 40 degrees is when the atmosphere becomes supercharged for very intense snow. Now let's continue on in this National Weather Service forecast discussion. And here we go. Because we're about to throw in another shockaroo over here. Something that we have not discussed at all until now, and this is something that's usually only talked about in the summertime in Oklahoma, or really everywhere in the summer where we have thunderstorms. Here we go about the thunderstorms. As has been discussed in previous forecast discussions, the magnitude of lake instability available tonight into Monday is incredible and more typical of environments over Lake Erie. This comes straight from the National Weather Service at this point. Forecast profiles over the southwestern shore of Lake Michigan tonight depict 850 to 700 MB temperature differentials of 25 to 35 degrees Celsius differences. Now, just to translate that, 850 MB, that's 5,000 feet above the surface. 700 MB is 10,000 feet above the surface in general. That's 10,000 feet above the surface. So those temperatures, 5,000 feet above the surface is 25 degrees Celsius. That's the difference between the surface and up there. So we said already that before we were speaking about in Fahrenheit, how it's somewhere between 37 and 42. The National Weather Service tells us the exact number, but it tells it to us in Celsius, which is 25 degrees Celsius. So 25 degrees Celsius is in Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit is 9, 18, 27, is 45. This is even more intense than what I was saying. So they're saying that there's going to be a 45 degree difference, Fahrenheit, a 45 degree difference between the surface air temperature and the temperature 5,000 feet above the surface, 45 degree Fahrenheit difference. We said by Buffalo it was a 36 degree difference, and that brought 81 inches of snow to Buffalo. That area got 81 inches of snow, and some areas got even more. So, and they got 4 to 6 inches of snow per hour. We were saying earlier today we would be getting 1 to 3 inches of snow per hour, but listen to this. The National Weather Service has upped everything at this point. So, as a result, okay, so we have... Okay, so Dina tells us that they're not always right. Of course they're not. But as a result, the expectation is for the lake effect snow bands to be unusually intense with peak snow rates of 3 to locally 5 inches per hour, frequent lightning and thunder, and pockets of hail. Now, how do you get pockets of hail? Who wants to explain to me how we get pockets of hail? So the hail thing is, it's a big shockaroo here because I've never seen that. So, okay, apparently, even pockets of hail, not sleet, hail, even with the expectation for the snow bands to be relatively transitory, which means they might be very quick in moving, the unusually intense snow rates will render snow clearing measures ineffective, leading to dangerous travel conditions if any band were to park over the same area for several hours, which may very well happen in Cook County at around daybreak Monday. Travel may become impossible with the potential for stranded cars during the rush hour commute. Needless to say, this may become a very dangerous and life-threatening situation beneath the most intense and stationary lake effect snow bands. Travel is not advised beneath the lake effect snow bands. This comes from the National Weather Service. By the time, now this next paragraph we read already, but By the time the lake effect ends on Monday, total snow amounts will vary considerably across short distances where the snow bands are most intense. Total snow accumulations of 12 to 18 inches are expected with a ceiling of 2 to 4 feet. 2 to 4 feet. And just to point out one thing over here is that sometimes you'll see in these blizzards, it will say 12 to 18 inches of snow with snow drifts of 2 to 4 feet. We're not saying drifts over here. We're saying that the actual snowfall accumulation potentially could be 2 to 4 feet. The question over here is, will the band drifts is when the wind blows the snow into a pile, or it blows the snow off roofs. And so the question over here is, where will the bands develop? Will they become stationary? Will they not? So there's a lot of questions over here. And I'll say also that to those of us that, prayer is a big thing. So it could be that when everyone's hearing all these things, people are like davening for it not to happen. So maybe everything will change because of that too. But so things could change. But a lot of people want it to happen. So and there's a lot of advantages to having snow like this. When everything is canceled because of the snow, so you actually, your entire life could change around. And for the better. Everything could change for the better. You have everything's covered outside in white. You no longer get the differences. All people kind of become equal. You can no longer see like who's living like this, who's living like that, and people come out and they help each other. People have, there's snow shovels, and it also gives people a time to think and a time to think about where they're going. They're no longer a slave to time. And there's a lot of, to those of us that want to hear more about the gematrias of Shelag and Emes, and what you have is, or Common Wine, Reb Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha had a shmuz in there Yisrael that according to one of the ways to measure gematria, so Shelag ends up being 9, and according to the same method, Emes also ends up being 9. It's because the world represents more truth after you have everything covered by snow. But there's a lot more that goes on, how each snowflake is different from another. And it's also a muscle to each person has a different purpose in the world. In case you think because there's billions of people, maybe it happens to be there's 2 people who are the same. Maybe. I mean, everyone has 2 hands, 2 feet. Like maybe there's 2 people who are actually the same. But is it really possible? Is it really possible that every person's different? So just like by snow, everyone knows that each flake is different. So too by people, each person has a different purpose. And there's so much to gain from a storm like this and it's just a one-time, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime for not the snowfall accumulation. We've had widespread organized storm systems that have come to Chicago that have brought large amounts of snow, although even that's rare, but they happen once, let's say, every 10 years. But to have a lake effect snow, a Buffalo, New York type lake effect snow event, that's rare. And we will talk about other forecasters, by the way. AccuWeather, as of a few hours ago, was saying merely 1 to 3 inches. I believe they upped it to 3 to 6, but they're painting a completely different picture. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But to continue this over here, we have, with all of this said, and in deference for the potential for locally life-threatening travel conditions, opted to go ahead and upgrade the winter storm watch to a winter storm warning. Winter weather advisories have been issued in counties bordering the winter storm warnings. Finally, did issue a winter storm watch for Lake County, Illinois, to cover the scenario where the trailing lake effect snow band starts further north than currently expected. Now, we have, okay, so if we go, here's the forecast concerns. This is regarding the airport. Forecast concerns, this is for pilots who will be flying airplanes. This is for the O'Hare Airport and also for Midway. Here's the forecast concerns. Heavy thunder, snow late this evening into early overnight. And this thing just, let's get this back again. And then a band of heavy lake effect snow early Monday morning. Blowing snow overnight and Monday morning with gusty north to northwest winds through the period. A band of light snow has developed across far northeast Illinois this morning, including at O'Hare Airport. This is expected to be short-lived, but flurries and a passing snow shower will remain possible through early this evening. A period of heavy lake effect snow is expected late this evening into the early overnight hours, and the latest guidance suggests this will arrive a little faster than previously expected and have adjusted timing accordingly. Instability over Lake Michigan will be extreme. That's their words. Will be extreme with a few-hour period of very heavy snow expected, along with the potential for thunder. Now, notice O'Hare Airport is far from the lake. So now this snow will move inland and weaken in intensity with visibilities still under 1 mile possible at DuPage Airport. Light snow will likely remain prevailing behind the first burst of lake effect snow, but then a longer, more narrow band of lake effect snow will develop and may move across O'Hare Airport and then Midway. Confidence is only medium for the second period band of lake effect snow and opted to maintain probable mention at O'Hare Airport and a different mention at Midway. Further refinement and changes can be expected for this time period with later forecasts. The lake effect snow is expected to move east into northwest Indiana by mid-morning Monday and east of Gary by late Monday morning. North to northwest winds will remain gusty through the period in the mid to upper 20 knots range, slowly diminishing Monday afternoon with gusts then ending Monday evening. Wind directions may turn more to the north to north-northeast overnight at the Chicago terminals after the first period of snow. Confidence is low for specific wind directions. And that's a major thing here, but opted to include this more northerly shift with this forecast. And just to add one other thing regarding the wind direction, so where the winds are, if the winds are off the lake at 5,000 feet above the surface, so that's the precipitation is going to be coming in off the lake. If the winds are also from the northeast on the surface, so then and the winds are parallel, the winds on the surface winds are parallel to the winds 5,000 feet above the surface, that's also when the most intense lake effect snow bands develop. You also need the winds to be going over the water for 50 miles or more. And that's where the big differences are going to come in for Chicago and Buffalo, but especially this bands becoming stationary. That's what did it. So the snow intensity rates might end up being similar, but to get 81 inches is something that was unique to a Buffalo setup, where they get their lake effect snow from west winds. In Chicago, you need winds to have somewhat of an easterly component, which is rare for that to happen from an Arctic front. Usually winds are always from the northwest. When you also have a storm system, though, which is eventually going to make it to the east coast, that could also help bring in northeast winds. The snow is expected to become drier through the night into Monday morning, and the gusty northwest wind should allow for some blowing, drifting snow, especially when snow is falling. So it sounds like the beginning period will be more of a wet snow. That will impact the snow to water ratios, possibly in the beginning 10-1, but in lake effect, we can often get 20-1 snow to water ratios. The National Weather Service does not speak about snow to water ratios, but I wanted to read to you what it says over here. Regarding, this is for Lincolnwood, Illinois. For Lincolnwood, Illinois, this is what we have. We have for tonight, snow showers mainly after 9 p.m. The snow could be heavy at times. Some thunder is also possible, low around 29. Blustery with a north wind 20 to 25 miles per hour with gusts as high as 35 miles per hour. Chance of precipitations 90%. New snow accumulations of 11 to 17 inches possible. That's the National Weather Service from Lincolnwood. And that was updated 1:22 p.m. this afternoon, November 9th. Tonight, snow showers likely, Monday, snow showers likely, mainly before 9 a.m. The snow could be heavy at times. Some thunder is also possible. Then mostly sunny with a high near 37. Breezy with a west-northwest wind, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Gusts as high as 30. Chance of precipitation, 70%. New snow accumulations of 2 to 4 inches possible. Now, regarding those wind speeds, we've pointed out in the past that a wind of 15 to 30 miles per hour, 5,000 feet above the surface, is the most ideal. From what I understand, that would be the most ideal for wind, for lake effect snow. Could be that there are buckies on this but the winds are slightly higher when you go 5,000 feet above the surface. But those will be the wind speeds on the surface. We're looking at 15 to 20 mile per hour wind speeds. if the winds are too quick, that doesn't give time for the snowbands to develop, and if the winds are too weak, the snowbands also don't really make it too far inland. But now, if we were to look at the... Okay, you could...
Especially near Lake Michigan. And now the extended outlook for the period Monday through Saturday. Monday morning, significant snow risk near Lake Michigan. Limited thunderstorm risk. Discussion. Intense lake effect snow will continue Monday in northeastern Illinois and northwestern Indiana. Snow rates locally in excess of 3 inches per hour will lead to dangerous travel conditions, especially near Lake Michigan. Spotter information statement. Spotter activation will not be necessary through tonight. General storm motion of the day, moving toward the southwest at 30 miles per hour. Now here is the hazardous weather outlook for portion.
Okay, so we have, when they say in excess of 3 inches, we have here online that it means 3 to 5 inches. And just to quickly look at AccuWeather, because they're painting a different picture here. They have our total snow totals of 3 to 6 inches, but when they do the snow probability chart, so they have a 42% chance of it being 3 to 6 inches, and then the chances are basically equal of whether it's 6 to 10 or 1 to 3. But if you want to bring it up to 80%, you have to go from 1 to 10 inches. So according to AccuWeather, we would have to say that they're saying 1 to 10 inches, which is, which sounds reasonable for a lake effect snow event, but it's very different from what the National Weather Service is saying. So that's 1 to 10 inches. And if we go down to, let's see what they say for Gary, Indiana. For Gary, Indiana, they have Gary, Indiana at 10 to 15. It's more like 6 to 20 inches for Gary, Indiana. So they have, AccuWeather is having this heavy snow more in northwest Indiana. They have a 35% chance of it being 6 to 10 inches and a 50% chance of it being 10 to 15. So that's an 85% chance of it being between 6 and 15 inches. But you still have a 9% chance of it being 15 to 20 inches. So it seems like they have it's probably that second snow band, that's probably where the doubt comes in, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. If we were to look at maybe another spot, where would we go to? Let's go to Tinley Park. Tinley Park, 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. Well, Tinley Park, it's the same thing as here in Lincolnwood. They don't have. So, what about Evanston? What does it say for Evanston? Evanston also, you have 1 to 10. That would be the... So, those are the two different scenarios. Two different forecasts.
If it actually snows 5 inches every hour.
Right.
10 feet 6 hours.
So...
For a whole day?
Yeah, a whole day.
Well,
It's not going to be snowing for a whole day.
Right, it's not going to be snowing...
Right, but I'm saying if you
Can it be snowing for 6 hours? But that
How-
still is a lot.
Well, that's the
6 hours
question.
would be 30.
The initial band is a couple hours long, and then the other band, we don't know exactly where and when and exactly how long it's going to stay wherever it is. And that band is very heavy snow, and that's what's causing this large snowfall differences. Now, it's now been 29 minutes. A long weather podcast here. Thank you for listening. I wish everybody a wonderful day and stay safe.